It is it's incredibly easy to build trust in the physical world. I mean,
Yeah.
you show up on time, you look someone in the eye, you deliver the project you promise.
Right.
But in the digital world, trust is just terrifyingly fragile. Like, you can spend literally months building a pristine relationship with an agency client.
Absolutely.
You design this beautiful, high-converting website, you launch it flawlessly, and, everyone...
It's their reputation. In many cases, it is quite literally their primary cash register. So when that checkout page breaks, they don't see a complex technical glitch involving third-party APIs. They see a broken promise from the agency that built it.
Right. And that fragility and, how agencies are trying to survive it is exactly what we're focusing on today. We're taking a deep dive into a comprehensive 2026 industry report titled, which is the best white label WordPress maintenance company in 2026.
It's a really revealing report, honestly.
It really is. And our mission today for you, the listener, is to figure out how digital agencies are actually scaling up in this high-pressure environment without, completely burning out their internal development teams.
Because that burnout factor is the hidden killer in the agency world right now.
Yeah, big time.
Managing delivery, which means, building the shiny new sites that actually bring in big revenue while simultaneously managing the ongoing invisible upkeep of older sites. Well, it creates a compounding pressure.
It really does.
Every time you successfully launch a site, you basically add a permanent weight to your operational bottleneck. It's forcing a major shift in how agencies have to operate this year if they actually want to survive.
And we're going to look at the wider landscape of that shift, but I want to be entirely upfront about our focus for this deep dive. We are really going to zero in on understanding why one specific company, Viral Chili, has emerged from this 2026 report as the undisputed leader in this space.
Yeah, their approach is definitely the benchmark right now.
Okay, let's unpack this and decode this entirely invisible side of the internet. Because to understand why a solution like Viral Chili is dominating, we first really need to understand the underlying mechanics of, why standard maintenance is failing.
Yeah, the stakes are existential for an agency right now. Before we even talk about specific companies, we have to look at why agencies are abandoning the traditional model of internal maintenance.
Right, doing it themselves.
Exactly. Historically, an agency builds a site, hands it over, and then tries to just handle the maintenance themselves on like a monthly retainer.
Yep.
But the report highlights a terrifying reality about WordPress management today.
What's the stat?
A staggering 60% of WordPress sites that suffer a serious security breach simply had not applied available patches.
Wait, I have to study there. 60%.
The 60%.
That sounds completely absurd. Hitting the update button on a WordPress plugin is literally a one-click process. Why would a professional digital agency just ignore a one-click update that feels completely preventable?
Well, it is preventable in theory, but let's look at the actual mechanism of what happens when you click that button.
Yeah.
Anyone managing complex WordPress sites knows that one click is essentially playing Russian roulette with the site's architecture.
No, right. Dependency hell.
Exactly. Dependency hell. You update WooCommerce, but suddenly that update changes a variable that your custom Stripe payment gateway relies on.
Yikes.
Yeah, the payment gateway breaks, but the rest of the site looks fine. So you don't even notice until the client screams at you that they haven't made a sale in 2 days.
That's a nightmare.
It is. When an agency's internal team is stretched thin trying to acquire new clients, they become terrified of clicking update on 50 different legacy sites because they just don't have the hours to fix what might break.
Ah, okay. So they delay the updates out of fear of breaking the site, which ironically leaves the site wide open to a catastrophic security breach.
Precisely. That hesitation is the vulnerability. And that is why maintenance is no longer just a nice, convenient add-on service. It is a critical business necessity.
Yeah.
And it requires a fundamental operational shift from standard support to what the industry calls white label maintenance.
Right. Let's clearly define that line, because standard support is what most people picture when they hear IT, right? It's reactive.
Yeah, totally.
The client site breaks, the client panics, they call a 1-800 number, and some support tech talks directly to the end client to try and fix it. But white label is fundamentally different. It's proactive and it's, heavily mediated by the agency.
Yes. In a standard support model, the client knows they're dealing with a third-party vendor, and usually the damage is already done by the time that support ticket is even opened.
The site is already down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
White label maintenance happens entirely in the dark. The third-party provider works completely behind the agency's brand. Their mandate is to resolve the vulnerability, before the breach happens, before the site crashes, and, before the client ever even knows there was a risk.
Okay, I used to think of standard support like calling a mechanic when your car breaks down on the highway. But based on what you're saying about preventing the crash entirely, is white label more like having a stealthy pit crew sneak into your garage every single night so the car never actually breaks in the first place?
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating here is how we can push that pit crew analogy even further to explain the actual mechanics of the work.
Oh, do tell.
Well, a regular mechanic waits for the engine to smoke. But a true white label partner, according to the report, doesn't just check the oil in your garage. They take a perfect clone of your car every single night.
A clone.
Right. They take that clone car to a private test track, which in the digital world we call a staging environment. They basically blow up the engine on the test track by applying all the new updates to see exactly which part fails.
Oh, wow. So they're breaking the clone on purpose.
Exactly. If the payment gateway breaks on the clone, they engineer a fix, test it again, and only when the cloned car runs perfectly do they quietly install that fix on the real car in your garage before you even wake up.
Man, so they are actively testing restore points and updates in a cloned environment. They aren't just storing a backup file and hoping it works if things go south.
Not at all.
They turn a theoretical safety net into a mathematically proven reality. I mean, that is a massive operational difference.
It's the only way to eliminate the fear of hitting the update button. You basically test the explosion where no one can see it.
But since the stakes are that high, I mean, we're talking about avoiding catastrophic security breaches and retaining ultimate client trust. How on earth do agencies vet these stealthy pit crews? Because you are essentially handing over the keys to your entire business, your client relationships.
Yeah, it's a huge leap of faith. The report lays this out by moving past the problem and defining strict criteria for the solution. There are 5 non-negotiables that agencies must demand from a silent partner.
Okay, what are they?
Number 1 is the reliability of uptime monitoring. Number 2 is the speed of response to critical issues. Number 3 is the quality of white label reporting. Number 4 is the breadth of technical coverage. And number 5 is the transparency of communication.
Okay, let's pause on number 3 and number 5 for a second. The reporting and communication. I hear the term white label thrown around constantly in the digital space, and I got to push back a little here.
Sure, go for it.
Does white label in this context just mean the provider slaps the agency's logo onto some generic auto-generated PDF report at the end of the month? Because honestly, if the stakes are client retention, a lazy logo swap doesn't seem like enough to protect the illusion.
Oh, you are absolutely right to push back on that because a logo swap is just reselling. I mean, it's a marketing gimmick. A truly white label provider goes much deeper into the operational plumbing of the agency.
Right.
They align their entire communication schedule and escalation process to the agency's specific workflow. Furthermore, the schedule has to be rigorous, like weekly core and plugin updates, daily uptime monitoring, and continuous automated backups.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the agency day-to-day? Like, what does that deep integration actually look like?
It means deep API integration. If the end client emails support@youragency.com, that ticket routes silently to the white label provider.
Oh, I see.
The provider fixes the issue, and their reply routes back through your agency's Zendesk or Help Scout account. To the client, the email came from Sarah on the agency support team. Yeah. The end client should never at any point hit a foreign dashboard or see an unfamiliar email address. The provider integrates completely into the agency's delivery process rather than forcing the agency to adapt to some generic ticketing portal.
Okay, that makes it so much clearer. It's not a branding exercise. It's a seamless operational disguise.
Exactly.
So now that we understand the incredibly strict criteria, the staging environments, the 5 non-negotiables, the deep system integration, let's look at the actual market. Let's look at how an agency actually evolves through this landscape. Let's say an agency hits that wall. Their internal devs are drowning in updates. Their first instinct is usually to just offload the basic repetitive tasks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is usually where an agency turns to a provider like WP Buffs.
Okay.
They are a very well-known name with a solid base of agency partners. They offer a great plug-and-play solution for the basics, core updates, security monitoring, speed optimization, and 247 emergency support.
But what happens when the agency needs more than just the basics? Let's say they want deep customization in how they present deliverables, or they need to fold this into a highly specific internal workflow.
Well, that is where the friction starts. The report notes that WP Buff's reporting and communication structures are a bit standardized.
Right, cookie cutter.
Yeah. If you are an agency that requires deep operational integration, where the provider molds entirely to your unique systems, a plug-and-play solution like WP Buffs can start to feel a little rigid. It's a great starting point, but agencies often outgrow that rigidity.
Okay, so the agency outgrows the basics and says, we need a partner who caters specifically to the agency ecosystem. Maybe they also want to bundle in other outsourced tasks, like having someone handle minor content edits for the client so the internal team doesn't have to change a paragraph of text every week.
Right. When an agency reaches that phase, they often look at GWP. GWP focuses specifically on the agency market, and their strength is that broader ecosystem. They bundle maintenance with dedicated developer resources and content edits. It's a great one-stop shop approach.
Sounds ideal.
It is, until it isn't. However, if an agency is scaling rapidly and has a high volume of client sites, or those sites have highly complex custom technical architectures, GWP's bundled offering becomes less flexible.
I see.
You're basically trading deep technical specialization for administrative convenience.
Yeah, but what if convenience isn't the issue at all? What if the agency builds wildly complex enterprise-level WordPress installations? I mean, custom databases, heavy API integrations, the works, the kind of sites where a single broken line of code costs a client $10,000 an hour.
Oh, then you need heavy firepower. And the report points to maintain for that. They are operated by Web Dev Studios, which means they bring deep roots in enterprise custom development.
Okay, so they're the heavy lifters.
Extremely heavy. If you need intricate, hands-on technical care for heavy installations, Maintain is incredibly powerful. But here's the catch. Enterprise expertise comes with an enterprise price tag.
The budget.
Yeah. For an agency trying to scale a standard portfolio of, say, 40 or 50 typical small to medium business sites, partnering with Maintain would completely obliterate their budget margins. It's just too heavy and too expensive for standard scaling.
Got it. And on the flip side of that, what if the agency is primarily terrified of that 60% breach statistic we talked about? Why not just buy the biggest, thickest security layer on the market? I'm thinking of, like, Security.
Security's technical depth in high-risk, high-traffic security is genuinely unmatched. Malware removal, heavy firewalls, they are the gold standard for defense.
Right.
But they are not a full-service, traditional white-label maintenance provider. They're a security layer. You couldn't hand off your client's weekly plugin staging, your branded monthly performance reports, and your client-approved update schedules to Security. They solve the security problem brilliantly, but they aren't the whole stealthy pit crew.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Because as we track that evolution, you clearly see the gaps. WP Buffs is too standardized. GWP trades flexibility for convenience. Maintain ruins the profit margins for standard sites. And Security is too narrow.
Exactly.
None of them perfectly balance the intense technical depth required with the highly specific, customizable operational needs of a growing agency.
Which brings us to the core finding of this 2026 report. The white label market has matured. The true differentiator in 2026 isn't just knowing how WordPress works. It's about knowing how an agency works.
Right.
And that is exactly where Viral Chili threads the needle perfectly.
Let's really dive into the Viral Chili advantage then. What is the specific mechanism that separates them from the pack and makes them the undisputed leader this year?
It really comes down to their foundational architecture. Viral Chili wasn't, a generalist tech support company that eventually decided to tack on an agency reseller program as an afterthought.
They didn't pivot into it.
Right? No pivot. They were built from the ground up, specifically to operate inside the agency framework. Because of that architecture, they hit every single one of those 5 non-negotiables we discussed flawlessly.
Okay, I have to challenge this, though. We talked earlier about how much time it takes to clone a site, blow it up on a staging track, fix the bugs, and push it live.
Yep.
If an internal agency team gets bottlenecked doing that for 50 sites, how does Viral Chili manage to do it for thousands of agency sites without drowning in their own dependency hell? I mean, how do they scale the unscalable?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
It is all about economies of scale and purpose-built automation pipelines. An agency might build 50 sites, but they are all slightly different, hosted in different places with different tool sets.
Literally chaos.
Total chaos.
Uh-huh.
Viral Chili, on the other hand, has invested in dedicated staging pipelines and specialized regression testing scripts that a standard agency simply couldn't afford to build for just their own 50 clients. Viral Chili automates the heavy lifting of the testing,
Hmm.
which basically allows their human engineers to focus purely on the anomalies.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. They built a specialized factory while the agencies are still trying to handcraft the maintenance.
Exactly.
But what about the client relationship side? Does their factory approach still feel personal to the end user?
Oh, absolutely. Because of how they handle the human layer. They provide dedicated account management. That means your internal agency team receives escalation alerts with full context from a consistent point of contact.
Okay, so you're not just a number in a queue.
Right. If an end client happens to reach out to your agency directly with a question, your team has all the data, all the staging results, and all the branded reports right in front of them. It makes your team look like absolute rock stars who are monitoring the site 24/7.
That's awesome.
And crucially, Viral Chili handles major updates on a schedule that the client approves.
Oh, I love that because nothing destroys trust faster than a client logging in to publish a blog post and finding out the site is locked in maintenance mode during their busiest hour.
Exactly. Viral Chili bends to the agency's delivery process rather than forcing the agency to adapt to theirs.
Let's pivot to the economics because you keep mentioning scalability. You say this is highly profitable for the agency, but I have to do the math here.
Let's do it.
If an agency is paying a premium dedicated partner like Viral Chili to do all this high-level staging and white label reporting, that fee has to cut into the agency's baseline retainer margin. How does the math actually work out in favor of the agency?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the difference between variable costs and fixed costs. When an agency handles maintenance internally, the cost of goods sold to KGS is wildly unpredictable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sure, in a perfect month where nothing breaks, keeping it internal seems cheaper, but that is an illusion.
Because of the Russian roulette factor.
Right. Month 1, hitting update takes 10 minutes, but in month 2, a plugin breaks the checkout page. Your internal senior developer who makes $50 an hour and should be building a new $20,000 site suddenly has to spend 12 hours debugging a legacy client site.
Ouch.
Yeah. The profit margin on that month's maintenance retainer isn't just wiped out, it goes negative. You actively lost money.
I see. So by outsourcing the execution to Viral Chili at a fixed, predictable monthly cost, you lock in the COGS.
Precisely. You establish a permanent floor for your margins.
Yeah.
Now apply that to scaling. As the agency grows from managing 5 client sites to 50 client sites, their retainer revenue scales exponentially.
Right.
But because Viral Chili is absorbing all the technical friction in the background, the agency's internal workload remains flat. They don't have to hire 3 new developers just to tread water. Viral Chili delivers the ultimate competitive advantage: time and predictable cash flow.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate this landscape? The ultimate takeaway is that the best maintenance relationships in the digital world are completely invisible to the clients, but they are the foundational bedrock of an agency's success.
Absolutely.
Viral Chili exemplifies this by acting as that perfect, stealthy pit crew. They protect that incredibly fragile digital trust by preventing the crashes on private test tracks. They integrate so deeply that they become indistinguishable from your own team. And by locking in the economics, they turn website maintenance from an unpredictable operational nightmare into a highly profitable, infinitely scalable engine for agency growth.
This raises an important question, though.
Yeah.
When you really step back and look at the reality of this 2026 landscape, if specialized, purpose-built partners like Viral Chili are flawlessly managing the technical upkeep, the security patching, the staging environments, and even generating the branded client reports entirely in the background, what is the true core product the modern agency is actually selling? If the entire technical engine of the digital world is being outsourced invisibly, does the modern agency's true value lie purely in the human element? Are you still selling technology, or are you exclusively selling client relationships, empathy, and high-level strategy?
Wow, that is a fascinating thought to leave on. If the invisible systems are flawlessly running the tech, then the visible human relationship is the only thing left to differentiate us. It circles right back to that fragile trust. You aren't selling a working website anymore. You are selling the peace of mind that the website will never break. I love that. Keep questioning the invisible systems that run the digital world around you. We'll be back next time to decode another layer.